I just had a wonderful conversation with Aishah Iqbal. She's doing a lot. I'm just trying to freaking keep up here. She's a marketing executive. She's an author of a book. It's available on Amazon. It's called This Single Mom Ain't No Punk. She's a host of a podcast called A Story and a Chat. It's available on iTunes. There's 2 seasons. She knows 5 languages and she's a mother. And I sat down and talked to her about her challenges, the things that she's learned, what advice she has to younger folks out there who are trying to make their way. And it was a great conversation, and I hope you enjoy it.
I'm so sorry for being so late.
No worries at all. Ice cream, things have to wait for ice cream, you know?
Nothing, and you're a parent now, so congratulations.
Thank you.
Nothing is a simple anything anymore. I had a few minutes, I was just like, I'm gonna go make a coffee run, and I hear a cute little voice saying, Mom, ice cream. I was like, I can't say no. I was like, yeah, let's go. Let's get some ice cream too. So.
How old is she now?
She is 5 years old, going on like 14.
Man.
Like, not kidding.
So my daughter's 4 months. 4 months old. And it's like anything that you do, you need to it's extra prepared. You need the diaper bag, you need to have bottles ready to go. But the joy of having them is amazing. And ice cream is my favorite. So if you're late for ice cream, that's the best excuse you could ever use. Imagine going to a work meeting and saying it's ice cream. It's reasons for ice cream. I'd be like, well, you know what?
Now that I know a work meeting with you, you'll be like, hell yeah, don't worry about it. I'm here. I'll wait for ice cream.
So how's it going? How's work? Is it ramping up a lot in Q4?
Q4's crazy, right, Chris? It's crazy, especially for you and your team, right?
But for analytics, when I talk to someone from analytics, I always understood that you get really busy even after a campaign ends, because that's when you really need to check how something went. Right. And then while campaigns are live, you're busy, but the brunt of the work. What I understood from my conversation with someone is after it really hits. Is that true?
It needs good analytics. Good success only happens if you plan well for it, right? You have a higher likelihood of success if you plan as much as you can right up front for it. So same thing with analytics. If you're only working after the campaign ends, you're only doing part of your job as an analyst. You need to help the team set the campaign up well for measurement. We need to be able to, it's too late if at the end of the campaign you're like, I can't measure this. I can't tell you how this many dollars of yours went well.
So your workload actually doesn't matter. The beginning and the end are the busiest.
And honestly, we need to be part of the middle too.
Yeah.
I mean, I wish I could give you an answer like, analytics, we kick back once the campaign launches. We're like, let's just wait and see how it goes. But people want to know how their monies are working for them.
Yeah.
When the campaign's running. And so analytics can help folks planning and activation figure out okay, we have this data at hand right now. What do we make of it? Right. So it's a team effort. All in.
It is. You can't optimize what you can't measure. And if you don't have that plan, you're dead. You're dead in the water. All right. Well, here's the thing. I want to take even a bigger step back here, though. We talk about your marketing executive job. For a lot of this podcast, what I try to do is that people look at you in your position and maybe it's someone in college or high school, and they say, how the hell can I get there? And then they look at you like, how do I do that? But they don't realize that you're a normal person that has just been through a ton of challenges and a ton of learnings, and maybe you didn't have all of your stuff figured out when you were younger, but you've navigated through it. And one, it's an assurance for people who don't have everything figured out when you're younger. Two, there are probably valuable lessons that you've learned. I've already taken a look at your LinkedIn page, your Amazon page. There are some interesting stories that we could probably talk for days about. And those challenges are probably harder than most people face in a regular lifetime. I don't think I've dealt with something like that I've already seen. So that's what I try to do, is pick apart what those things, even from starting from the very beginning. So here's the deal. Here's what I see from your LinkedIn and everything, which is it's just a little bit like extraordinary. I don't even know how you do it all. But you moved here into the U.S. in 5th grade. English was a third language, but you still somehow got class president. You're a marketing executive of a VP of analytics for a company that works alongside and drives business forward for Google, one of the biggest companies in the world. You're a book author. You wrote a book. The single mom ain't no punk. I'm following you now on Amazon, by the way. I'm following your publisher page on Amazon. You know 5 languages, if I'm not correct. English is one of them. Hindi, Punjabi, Spanish, Urdu. I don't know how to say
Hindi.
The second one, obviously.
So a good majority of those languages are right in the subcontinent, like Asian subcontinent, like India and Pakistan, like so many dialects there. So Hindi, Urdu, and Punjabi, 3 right there. English, obviously speaking right now, and Spanish, like I can get by. I once had a woman tell me, this old Spanish speaking lady on the street, bless her heart, went off on me on the street because she asked me a question in Spanish. I was just like, oh, I don't speak it. She starts yelling at me. She's like, these young kids nowadays, in Spanish, and I understood it. These young kids nowadays don't know their own language, don't know their own culture. So she's yelling at me thinking that I'm a Spanish speaking person. And I didn't have the heart to tell her, like, I'm from Pakistan. No, I don't speak Spanish. I just took 2 years. And so I'm sitting there and I'm letting her speak and yell at me. I'm like, yeah, I know. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. So the outside world thinks that I should know how to speak Spanish, and I only know a little bit. So.
Well, if you can know when someone's yelling at you, you know. I would have no idea what anyone's saying. I know like 2 words. Well, and then on top of all of that, you're a mother, which in and of itself, from my personal experience, seeing it happen, that is a full-time job in and of itself. If not, it's 2 full-time jobs. It's a lot. It's rewarding, but it's a lot. And so all those things I just listed, I look at that and I'm like, yeah, I'm like, 1, how do you do it? But then 2, it's like, I'm very happy that I'm connected with you. I'm very lucky to be connected with you. That's how I feel.
You are just the sweetest. I mean, I've always thought that even before us talking now, like just at work and the email that you send and just being in meetings with you, you are just the sweetest. So thank you.
Thank you. Well, what do we have here? It's funny. I looked at your LinkedIn, and you worked at Decision Sciences team under the UM agency.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm curious because I used to work at Cadreon, which worked.
Do we overlap? Like, do our years overlap?
It could have been very close. I forgot the years that you worked there, but I started there in like 2015. I think you ended 2013, 2014.
Yeah. No wonder I like you, because people who worked at Cadreon were very smart.
Yeah.
So no wonder.
Yeah. Good experience. Did you work on the Johnson & Johnson account?
I did not. I started at UM on the Microsoft account. That was our whale account.
Got it.
And then when we lost that account, did some in-between stuff, then I started leading analytics for the Wells Fargo account that we had. Remember, I think UM had Schwab and Wells Fargo at that time.
Maybe. I can't remember.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's an interesting thing. And then, just another little fun fact. I asked you to do this podcast with me on a Saturday morning, and you said no, you have mother-daughter time. I told my wife that, and now because of that, we have on the weekends we call it Family Day, and we don't let anything disturb Family Day. If I do anything Saturday morning, it's got to like be before 9 o'clock in the morning, and then it's family weekend basically. So you've inspired me to have family weekend. So thank you.
Oh, I love that. And let me tell you what mother Saturday morning looks like. It is. We take our time waking up. Then we go downstairs. I make a hot cup of chai or tea for myself. She gets her hot chocolate milk. We come right back upstairs, get right back into bed, and we find something on TV to watch up until like 10 or 11. Then we get up, get ready for brunch. We pick a spot. We go have brunch, and then sometimes we go to a bookstore. Sometimes we go to a playground, but that leads us like into the afternoon. But that morning time of getting our hot beverages and coming right back into bed, it's just a thing of beauty. It really is.
Yeah. I like waking up Saturday morning. Depends if I get up early or not. But if I get up early at around 8 or 9 in the morning, I still go to the bed where the baby is, and I just soaking up like that hour or two of her like just waking up, still like in a giggly mood.
Oh, I know.
She's like just starting
the best.
Yeah.
But Chris, okay, so that's our weekend morning, but
yeah,
seeing how you are and like the creative venues that you are now allowing yourself to explore. Let me first of all thank you for creating this space for the youth of today to come and learn from other people that I mean, I can't tell you how invaluable that is. I mean, imagine, I wish I had someone to like go to and listen to. I mean, we had our family, right? But it's just like it's a limited space. But you are opening so many doors that, people would have, young kids would never have gone to like, oh, let me go see what Aishah Iqbal is doing. Who the hell is Aishah Iqbal? But now you're bringing Aishah Iqbal into a medium and a forum where young people can come and learn. So you're doing an amazing job here, and thank you for doing this.
Thank you. You make the show. I'm just here to ask. I'm here to pick the brain, a big, beautiful brain, a genius, and I'm just here to show off the genius. That's all I'm here for.
Don't underestimate the brain picker. Being a podcast host myself and ask her of ridiculous questions, there's an art to it, my friend. So give yourself a hand.
You like my thing here? I just got this.
I've been so proud of you. And like my favorite post so far was when you were like, I ordered all these books. Now I'm going to this bookstore. And I was just like, that is the kind of initiative that I love seeing, especially from such a sweet person like you. So I've been so happy for you.
Thank you. You're doing a lot of similar things. So I named off 5 or 6 different things, all in and of itself are full-time jobs. So you have 7 full-time jobs somehow. I don't know how you do it. Now, what the hell gives you the fuel to do all that? What motivates you for?
You want to talk about fuel?
I thought you're a tea drinker, though.
Oh, this is tea too, but it has boba in it. Oh, I've been a coffee addict for a while, but then there was this week or something. I don't know. I started getting like heart palpitations, panicky kind of feeling. I was just like, shit, man, I think I need to cut back on my caffeine. So I went through a period, and this was around the same time I got my first COVID shot, which is so stupid. I gave up coffee and got a COVID shot. That was a bad week for me. It was a double whammy. But now, so I just replaced an addiction. So it's just like now tea instead of coffee.
Tea's better for you though.
It feels better to me. But to your question, what fueled me? Honestly, a majority of the things that you listed off, I started after I became a mom. And it may sound counterintuitive, like, lady, you just became a mom. You now have a much busier life. But there was something that happened when I found out that evening at 5 p.m., I was sitting at my work desk and I get the email from my doctor saying, you're going to have a girl. All kinds of elation, all kinds of happiness, all kinds of joy. But then very quickly after that, I was just like, oh shit, if you're going to raise this little girl to be a strong ass woman, a good human being, you need to be that first. And so, you start taking an account of your life. What have I done with myself to date? What do I need to do? Where are the areas I need to work on? And honestly, that was it. There's nothing like an external factor to make you kind of realize how you're not showing up for yourself in the way that you need to show up, because it's very much, if you're not taking care of yourself, you are no good for the world around you.
So what's the first step that you take after you feel this fire under your feet? What is like, because now, okay, so now you hear this, but you still have a podcast, you still have 5 languages, you still have a book. And you're still a marketing executive. What do you do first?
Well, first is taking stock of, it really started with, well, luckily I got laid off. I was like 5-6 months pregnant and got laid off from my job. So, and I'm unmarried, so I didn't have a partner supporting me.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, what am I gonna do now? So go through the process, and long story short, I decided to not find a full-time job while pregnant, because I was just hearing these stories like, you got to be careful. Don't tell future employers that you're pregnant. You may not get hired. And I was like, holy shit, that's a lot of stress. I was like, I'm already like in a stressful situation. I don't want to put any more stress on my baby. And I was like, you know what? I'll figure it out. I'll work some freelance gigs, reach out to my network on LinkedIn, hit some people up, see what work they have for me. And that worked. I did get some freelance work, but it was great because it also set me up for a future job. So, I mean, it came, I didn't know at that time, but I made the connection, which then got me a later job. But through that time, because I was put in a position where I had to explore my options and change kind of what I've been doing and make different decisions, it made me a lot more, it forced me to become more self-aware and take stock of who Aishah Iqbal is. And it started with an exercise of, what am I good at? And what can I use from there to help the world? And doing that exercise, I was thinking like, okay, I'm good at coaching people. I've been a good people manager. Maybe I can do something in this space, because coaching and life coaching, career coaching was taking off. This was like 2016. It was like a buzzword that I was hearing everywhere. I was like, all right, let me try that. And then like in that space, I finally, I become a mom, have my daughter, and then finally find a full-time job, work at that job for like 2-3 months. And then I'm like, I don't feel like being in the office. My baby's at home. What can I do? So then I experiment with being a career coach. It was the scariest thing in the world, Chris, to me, because at that time, all of the coaches that I was seeing, they were certified, trained, and all of that. I had none of that, no formal background. But I still got a mid-career white man to hire me to meet his career goals. He paid me for 6 weeks. And each time I talked to him, that every week, I was making up stuff. Like 2 hours before my call, I was just like printing worksheets and figuring out what am I going to talk about. But through that, I bumbled through it. And at the end, he achieved the goals that he set out. And that is then what launched me into everything else. Because I tried something completely new for myself. I did well in it. Not only was it completely new, it was scary as hell for me, but I did it, followed through, and I did it well. And then so after that, I was just like, it just gave me the confidence to know that no matter what I try, I will somehow figure it out, and I'll probably succeed at it.
I love that. I love it. Yeah, like my relative experience will not be as crazy as yours. But what I found is that, and this is not like just like when I was younger, this is recently, maybe no longer than a year ago. The more I kept doing things that I would hear people say, like, you don't want to do that yourself. Like that's gonna be hard. It's gonna take a long time. Why would you want to do that? And I just said, well, who the hell cares? I'm just gonna try it. If it completely screws up, then whatever. And it could be so simple. Like kids out there listening and anyone else, they don't have to like, you don't have to take over the world here. I'll give you a simple example. Just like we moved into a new house, I had no idea what I was doing, and we didn't like the bathroom setup, like the vanity. And one day, just me and my wife would like talk about we want to update it, and we had no idea what we were doing. I knew I had YouTube as a resource, and that's it. And so then I just one day walked into the bathroom, and I just hit the vanity. I feel like I forget exactly what I do, but I just started hitting it with a hammer to break it off the wall. And my wife's like, "What the hell are you doing?" And I was like, "We're fixing this up." So it was something that I had no idea what I was doing. Did a little bit of research. Then I installed my own vanity, figured out some of the plumbing with the water pipes below, put in a new mirror, and then we repainted and put some new shelves in. And so when we moved in, I did a lot of like these projects, and then it led me to thinking, well, all these stupid little things that I thought like I probably couldn't do unless I had like someone teaching me side by side, I'm doing them. And so I feel like part of that is what made me decide. There's a lot of things. One is I like writing. Two, I really think I believe in the things that I write about. But three is that I've tried other things that are new, and I figured it out while I did it. But I knew I wanted to get there. I didn't know exactly the path, but I still knew I wanted to get there. And once fear of like, I don't know what the hell I'm doing, stopped me. I told my wife one day, I was like, I'm just gonna write a book. And she didn't, and I don't know if she believed me or not. I told my parents. I don't know if anyone believed me, but then I was like, yeah, I'm just going to do it. I don't care. And so I totally track with what you're saying. It's like when something like that, when an accumulation of experiences hit you, and you're like, oh, I believe in myself. I know what I'm doing, and I'll figure it out. I'm resourceful. It propels you, and it gives you the confidence to not be afraid of trying new things, and that's like so important. So totally track with what you're saying. Now, when does the book come and the podcast come? Do they come together? Are they related? Do they talk about the same stuff?
The book, it was another one of those, like, I loved how you brought up kind of fear and continued on that topic, because fear is really the biggest barrier for everybody. And the book was kind of an unlocking of my fear. And I've done that once before. Like my career in analytics, it started because I made a decision that I was going to strengthen an area where I am weak, and that's math. I've always been afraid of math. I was never good at math. Literature, history, those kinds of things, I would thrive in and loved. Math, science, all those other things, like, no, not my cup of tea. But was it post-college? No, in my MBA, I was like, you know what? I need to work on this. I can't keep being afraid of this thing. Like, what can I do? And so my job out of MBA, I threw myself into analytics. And it was a scary ride. It was many years of me deep in the imposter syndrome of, oh my God, I hope no one sees and no one feels that I'm really not good at this. I'm making everything up. And while I'm doing that, moving from analyst to manager to director to VP, I'm progressing, but I'm doing so with deep fear. And it was only last year, there's like a 10-15 year period of that. Only last year, when my alma mater, Georgetown, invited me to be a panelist to talk about, to help usher in their new degree in, I think, business analytics, their new master's in business analytics. And they reached out to me as an analytics professional and an alumni to come back so they could show, like, look at this, analytics expert that came through us. And when I got that invite, it was from the statistics professor that I had, who I swear to God, I remember sitting in his class and thinking, I don't understand what's coming out of his mouth. I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing here. And for him, he doesn't know that. I told him when I was on the panel, but at that point, he didn't know that I was deathly afraid of the topic he was teaching. And now he was reaching out to me. It was at that point when I thought to myself, I was like, I've made it. I no longer have to be afraid of this. It's sad, though, that it took that external validation for me to get there. But I'm just so thankful that I did finally get there.
Yeah. For me, do you have any practical steps to eliminate fear from the equation? For me, it's like, maybe it's a mindset of, for me, I change my perspective on things, meaning like, I know I'm not perfect and I'll try things, and if it doesn't go right, the big thing about what I talk about is like, if you can't look at every single endeavor of your life as a pass or fail, because there's too many things that you do and there's too many nuances and there's too many possibilities, meaning I can go after something and completely bomb it, but that could have opened up a path to something else. And it might not even be a clear path. Maybe you learned like one little thing from that experience that made you learn this new path. You took this path and like, okay, somehow it didn't work out, so I do this. And then maybe do 3 or 4 other things, but maybe it's a fork in the road and leads to something that you had no idea. So I always try to think about, like, one, I'm human, I'm not perfect. And so I will put my smartest head into something and try to think through what I think would be great. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. The worst case scenario is a stepping stone. You can't look at it as a failure. You have to look at it as a stepping stone. And 2 is like, a big project could be scary. Like, if you break it down into little milestones, it's so much easier. Like, you can't cross an ocean with one big step. So like, oh my God, but if you do baby steps, it's very easy. For you, are there any practical mental models or steps that even now or before that you just power through it?
Chris, I know you know this. There's no secret sauce to this, right? It's like, for me, it's always been just do something, because I promise you, like everything else, overcoming fear, you can practice it. And the more you practice overcoming fear, the bigger fears you'll start to be able to overcome. So this is going to sound silly, but I'm low key afraid of the dark. So you know, I would be like, I'll want to turn on all the lights that I can along the way. But an exercise that I started doing was just stay in the dark. Let's see how long I can stay in the dark and be okay. It became longer. It became longer. It became longer. So what does that have to do with writing a book? Well, it has everything to do with it, because fear is part of a mindset. And if you can help yourself shift your mindset, you can turn, staying in the dark for a long time to starting to write a book. It sounds like it's like miles apart, but it's really not. It's also
just like what we talked about. It's like just getting past these experiences, and it helps with other things.
That's right. Now, it's kind of an extreme exercise. It's a form of meditation that I'll do once in a while. I'll think about what is my greatest fear. And my greatest fear is losing my daughter. And I will go through that mental exercise of making myself think about like losing her. What happens next? It is like minutes of me bawling like uncontrollably because I am letting myself think and feel the most scary thing in the world to me. But I let myself do that. And why I do that is because I'm exploring my fear. I'm giving it space. Because just like anything in life, it just needs some space. What we do with our fear is it's a bad thing. Don't let it come. Don't think about it. And when we do that to something, like don't think about it, push it to the side, it just becomes bigger. It grows. And when something grows, it starts to consume you. So I have decided for myself that I don't want fear to consume me. I don't want anger to consume me. I don't want jealousy to consume me. Those are things I don't want to consume me, but I'm also not going to shut them out because I consider those types of feelings, those types of thoughts to be part of my human experience here. So I let them come in, but I work with them. I exercise with them. And I only take in like how much I can handle. Because then the more I do that, the more I can handle, the more I can just let pass through me rather than sit in me and like eat at me. So the book, I've always wanted to be a writer. Even as a kid, like I used to, I'm going to date myself, but my dad used to have a typewriter. And I used to just always just like write these little short stories. And I loved it. I just wanted to be a writer. But I lost that when I started becoming a young adult. You know, capitalist mindset came in. I was like, I need to make money. I need to make a lot of money. And writers don't make money. So during this time off, I didn't have a job. I have a new baby. I was just like, well, let me start journaling. My journaling was a way for me to heal because being a Pakistani Muslim woman, having a child while not married, it's a huge taboo still to this day. And it hurt my family for me to make this choice. You can say it's none of their business, but you know, I love my family and I wouldn't want to hurt them in this way, but I did. And so that was a big part of my identity at that time. And I didn't want it to be because I love my daughter. I didn't want there to be a dark cloud over it. So I started journaling. It was a form of healing for me. And through journaling, not only did it heal me, but it also connected me with my original love of writing. And so having done that, I'm like, oh, you know what? Let me write a book. Go through a couple of iterations of what this idea would be. And then I was like, well, let me just write about what I know. And what I know is my experience right now. And so the topic that I picked was it's a memoir of the 9-month journey of my pregnancy and everything that happened and what my life there was. Because in my head, I was just like, you know what? I didn't know what my life was going to be. I didn't know like what kind of relationship my daughter was going to have with her dad. And, you know, if my family was going to love me and accept me, all of those things, those are all unknowns. So this is going to be a gift to my daughter as a way to say, I don't know what you're going to think of me when you're older, but this was mom when you were being made. And I just wanted her to know that.
I love that.
So that's how it all started. And then when I wrote it, I was just like, well,
the star of the show is here.
Look, Mama, I'm going to make it myself like this for the whip.
Okay, let me finish this and then I'm going to come join you. Okay? Okay, I love you. And shut the door, please. Okay? You look like a rock star. Okay, there you go. Shut the door.
Bye.
Bye.
She's adorable.
Oh, my heart. So then when I finished writing it, I was like, okay, what am I going to do with it? And I was like, all right. I started researching and Kindle publishing was something that popped up. I was like, oh, good. I can self-publish this. I don't have to talk to anyone or share this with anyone. I can just do it myself. And that was a good experience as well. Learning something new, learning how to self-publish a book. So I was picking up these new skills, which made me feel like a productive human being. And I very much needed that as a brand new mother because my brain was just mush and I felt dumb. And so
You
this
wrote
made
the
me feel
book.
smart
You
again.
wrote the book while pregnant or while she was born?
After she was born.
Got it. That's
It was a 2-month writing process. I just knocked it out. Because the book format is it looks like a collection of journal entries.
Got it.
And so it was easier for me just to flow it out, just to write.
How did you have time while taking care of her as a single parent?
When she was asleep.
Yeah, that's tough because when she's sleeping, you need to sleep. Yeah.
But it was also my me time. Because I needed to. I'm a huge, like, I could be a cave dweller. I need my own time. I need my own space. So I wrote the book pretty much at night when she was asleep. Because when your babies, they go to sleep much earlier. So I was able to spend like, an hour or two before my bedtime. And then like during the days, wherever, or even if she was just laying next to me, I'd quickly pull my laptop out and just start writing. But it was also a great way for me to develop trust in myself, like not really second guessing too much of what I was writing. Like, what you've written here is good. Don't worry about it. Just keep writing. I just needed to keep writing because there was a sense of urgency in me to just get this book out and to just hit publish. I didn't care who read it or who didn't read it. Just the act of hitting publish is what I needed for myself, because it was one of those things like I am putting out my most raw feelings out into the world. And there's this saying that I heard, my mom say so much, that if you come out and tell people like sensitive things about yourself, like there's nothing that anyone can say to you that will hurt you anymore. By owning up to your own fears or your own flaws, you're making yourself, invulnerable. I don't even know if that's the right word, but you're strengthening yourself to then, if someone were to come and attack you, like if someone was to talk shit about me, I'm like, yeah, and I just put it in the book.
Eminem tactic. Using Eminem's tactic.
Eminem. But that's exactly right. So that's why it was so important for me to get this book out, because Chris, it was just like the floodgates opened afterwards. Yeah. Like when I published the book, there were a lot of people, a lot of my loved ones who are not happy about it, but it felt like an amazing release.
They weren't happy about you publishing the book?
Like being so open about my experience as an unmarried mother.
Does it talk about anything around is it mainly for people like moving into motherhood, or is it like anyone who wants to learn from like a really interesting experience that was challenging?
So the typical book writing process, you should probably know who your audience is that you're writing for and why. I didn't do any of that. So a lot of like the answer to your question came to me not as me planning for the book, but as people read the book. Like people of all walks of life have read this book, and they came back to me. Like one reader, she's not thinking about being a mom. She's nowhere near like at mom age, but she read it and she was just like, thank you so much. You just helped me realize how much more important life is than this shitty day of work that I just had. And you helped me find strength in the situation. I never expected that kind of feedback to come from it. But when I take a look back, I mean, what I wrote it's a testament to the strength that we all have that we may never really give ourselves credit for. We are a whole lot more resilient than we know. And anyone and everyone can tap into this strength and do some amazing shit that you never even dreamed of. Like this podcast that I have, this 2 seasons that I put out there. If you asked me 2 years ago, 3 years ago, Aishah, do you want to do a podcast? I'm like, the fuck for? Like, ew, no, that's not me. Who's going to listen to it? What am I going to talk about? But after doing season 1, then people were coming to me and saying, hey, are you going to do another season? Can I be on your podcast? And I was like, really? And it was a pandemic thing. I'm like, I've got this, I've got the time, and I've got, I love asking people questions. I love starting conversations. And it was my way of meeting people. Secretly, I hate people. I don't like making new friends. I'm just not great at it. I'm like introvert that way, but it was such a great way for me to learn new things from different people. So that's why I did it.
My experience of doing a little stint of this so far, this is my 14th podcast. And then I have a 15th. I did one this morning. But is when you're forcing yourself to have a conversation. And so I'll give two examples. One is I first or second episode met someone from Ireland that she was in the process of thinking about writing a book. She has her own podcast on Podbean. And like, I would have never met with this person. She had a crazy life story. She attempted suicide and she got out of this mental model or mental block. And now she's doing fine and she's thriving. And it was so amazing to see a story like that. I would never have talked to someone. The other is I've known someone, one of my brother's best friends. I had him on the podcast, and we've known each other for probably 20 years. And I don't know, I learned that he was like really fond of anchors. And so like, he has a business and the icon or logo is an anchor, and he has a tattoo of an anchor, and everything is anchor. And I've known him for that long. I was like, I never knew this from you. And like, so you're forced to have conversations, and because you would never have these often with people. So you're forced to have a conversation, and you learn so much about things. And so I love doing it. I understand what you're saying. So then you do the podcast. What is the podcast about? Personal? What is it about?
It is, the title is A Story and a Chat. I think about a lot of different things. I like to think about a lot of worldly topics. And, growing up, some people were annoyed by me asking these seemingly random questions or making these seemingly random observations in life. Like, oh, that's a big bridge. I wonder if that's how big dinosaurs were. And this is how we look to dinosaurs. Some people appreciate it. Some people are like, the fuck are you talking about? Sorry. And so.
This is no, I don't care about this here. Who cares? I've done it multiple times.
That's okay. Good to know. But I will try to stop. I feel like it's lazy people speak. So the podcast is a way for me to entertain these things that I think about. They're topics about, is the world really running out of food? And then it's a two-part conversation. One is with a food technologist in India who has a startup around a product to help extend the shelf life of food, because the problem in India is a lot of the food gets wasted before it even reaches the consumer. So they have a supply problem and then I speak to a millennial farmer in the US, and he's talking about, how we're growing food for more than just people consumption. And in the US, the problem is not in supply, but the waste happens after the food reaches a consumer, because the consumers just buy too much and waste so much food. So on that one single topic, is the world running out of food? Getting these two very different perspectives from two different parts of the world, it was so exciting for me. And I learned so much from both of these people. And so aside from even just the topic and just the podcast itself, the act of me reaching out to these folks, was a good practice for me. Like, I'm practicing how to pitch. I'm practicing how to reach out and how to network. I'm practicing getting rejected. I'm practicing all of these real life things that help me in my day job, in my life as a mom. And so what I loved about all of these things and projects that I've done, it's very much a circular effect. Everything has fed into my every part of my life, my work life, my mom life. And so everything is feeding into each other, because my day job was feeding into how I'm speaking to these people to invite me to come to my podcast. And so that's what kept it fun. But also a great exercise was in the beginning of the year, I stopped all of it. I stopped marketing for my podcast. Like if you go to my Instagram, like I was in the middle of marketing my second season of the podcast, and I just stopped. I have all the assets. I have all the posts. I just stopped it because it wasn't becoming fun. It wasn't fun anymore. It felt too much like work. And I was just like, yo, I already have a day job. I already feel like I'm working. This was supposed to be my release, and this was supposed to be my fun space. And so I took a hard look at what I was doing, and I was just like, nope, I'm done. I was also life coaching at that time and all of that. And I just stopped everything, stopped right in its track. And that was hard, Chris, because by then I'd already been doing stuff like this for like 3 years. And it became a part of my identity very quickly. And I'd also become addicted to it, like this content creation. Now I loved writing. Now I loved creating content. And then I'm like, oh my God, now what am I going to do? What am I going to think of myself? Am I just not going back to worker Aishah? So it took me about a month to like reconcile that in my own head. But it was great because I had to remember why I started all of it. And it was because of that I had to stop it and then refocus and reprioritize my life to allow for new things to come back in.
And now you're doing it again.
No.
Right? You're not doing, I thought you had a second season.
Yeah, it's already done. It's already up.
But you did do it though.
I did do it. I just didn't market it, like, put on the post. It's already out there. That's why it was easy for me to stop, because I'm like, the season's already done. And I don't even care anymore about if people listen to it, because this is more of a personal exercise.
So the marketing felt more like a job, but
yeah.
So you cut out the marketing. Will you do more seasons and just do it for yourself and stop the marketing, or are you going to reprioritize other things now?
So this might sound a bit egotistical, but I truly do feel this way. I feel like I belong on a bigger stage. I feel like I should be doing bigger scale things. You just need to stop. Okay. You just stop. No, but keep going. And anyways, that's what I feel like. And so that's what I took time in the beginning of the year and like over the holidays in December to really think through. I love Essence. I love where I am, not just because of the people or the work that I do, but also because of the opportunities I think I can get from here and the launch pad that I think it can be for me. So this year, because I stopped all that, I put my focus into my relationships and my space in Essence. I wanted to make my space, I wanted to grow my space at Essence and create more influence there, because what I really care about is bringing more equity to the world, bringing just more attention to like the love and the similarities that we have in the world, and being able to celebrate our differences in the world. It's not that we're not different, it's just that we are, but let's not be afraid of them. Let's celebrate them. That's what I truly, truly believe. I've always believed that, even when I was a kid. And so I want to use my space here to do that. And one of the ways that I would like to do that is to bridge my professional life with my personal goal. Is I want to use data to help fuel kind of the DEI efforts that are going on. I want data to help DEI efforts feel more real and not just like jumping on the bandwagon kind of stuff. So that's what I've been working on this year. And kind of contemplated, do I turn it into my own business? or do I turn it into a side hustle? How do I do it? But it's been fun thinking about that.
Do you have? I can't picture what you're doing. Like I hear it, but what is like? Is it too early of a stage? Is it too premature to say like this is what it is?
You know, after having so many conversations, when people think of programs that are meant to increase diversity,
Yeah.
equity, and inclusion in a company, they're like, oh, let's just hire someone to do DEI. And what does DEI mean? Let's have some training, let's have some functions, let's create some employee resource groups. Those are all surface level things. If we think of the workplace as a microcosm of society, it is vital for us to diversify the workplace so that we can then start to even think about changing the society and remove racial injustices and, you know, create more equity in society. So when we look at the workplace, I will start with an example. In our agency, I use this exaggeration with our CEO. I was just like, we have like 3.2 Black people in our agency. So what's the problem there? Is it a pipeline issue? Are we not getting enough candidates? Or is it a retention issue? Are we not keeping them? The answer right now is both. We're not getting enough in, but when we get enough in, can we keep them in? Probably not, because there are issues of, you know, how are we progressing people's careers? Are we providing them with right opportunities? Are we giving them right development, you know, opportunities, things like that. So there's data that can help us see where the problems are. There's a lot of data that our people teams or HR teams, you know, can get. But then there's also the problem, well, okay, now that you have these little pieces, how do you connect them in a way to tell you a story, to
And
start creating a
your
narrative?
big, beautiful analytics brain is solving all this, is what.
Yes.
So you're merging. Got it. I see.
I'm going to solve it.
So does that mean that you might not be able to say this publicly? Does that mean that your analytics role is changing at Essence? Are you moving into a different role?
You know what? Why don't we manifest that together? I would like to. Yeah.
I would love
would
to
like it to.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's because like you would bring real data and analytics to the fold. I don't know if that's the right way to say it, but you'd bring it to the forefront of how we do things.
That is definitely my intent.
Interesting. Well,
but I'm doing this on the side, right? It's not my day job, but that's the thing. That's the freedom that we all have. Just because our title doesn't say it, just because our role doesn't say it, just because we may not be working at a company or going to a school that might, you know, fit us in that square, it doesn't mean that we still can't go out and do different things and explore different opportunities. We have that freedom.
But you can move into a chief diversity officer role or something like that. You know what I mean?
It would, right now, as I explore it, I think this is a people analytics thing. Because, I mean, if we were to treat people at our companies like marketing campaigns, why can't we optimize an employee's journey? Why can't we plan effectively for how this employee will join the company and then have in-flight touch points like, hey, how are we doing? You know, how are we going to optimize your experience here? What training do you need? You know, what mentorship do you need? And then, you know, when this employee exits, do a post-campaign wrap, like, what was their experience? What did their exit survey tell us? So it sounds bizarre to treat people like marketing campaigns, but
well, that makes sense to me. I've always had post interviews. I think that I'm very excited to see how that comes about. I'm excited for that.
Me too.
So, switching gears a little bit. Do you set goals, by the way? Do you like write goals down and set them? You would seem like it would seem like yes, like these things seem like you do that, but maybe you don't. But that's interesting. I would guess you do.
So so my coaching program that I created, it was based off of what I first did just for myself. And there is a goal development part of that program. And the way I set goals is, I think now why you got that answer from me is because now it's become so like second nature to me. I don't need to do a formal process of like setting goals and tracking them. The only time I set goals right now is, so there's a macro goal, like what do I want to do? Like right now, my plan is by 50, I want to be like in the C-suite. I'm 43 right now. I got 7 years ago. So that's my big goal, right? And I just said it. I just threw it out there because you need to set something for yourself to give yourself a direction.
Yeah.
Now that can change, that goal can shift, but at least it's out there, it's in the universe. Now, how do I get there? So then I plan those steps. Like I need experience. I need to practice being a CEO, which is I need to manage a business. I need to do this. I need to do that. But like for this business idea, launching and creating this data plus DEI.
Yeah.
It was just like, again, it was just like, I need to start doing because I don't know what this goal is going to become, but let me just start taking action. So I set a 21-day plan for myself, like 15 minutes. You're going to spend 15 minutes every day working on this. And in first week, you're going to finish this. Second week, you're going to finish this. Third week, you're going to finish this, and then reassess. And I set that for myself because I needed to get myself into the habit of thinking about it and working on it, because I'm a true believer that once you start something, it's going to lead you to places that either you predicted for yourself or something even better. So just start doing.
Love it a million. Like I always say, you just get on the road. Then the road will fork. But who cares? You'll never hit the fork if you never get on the goddamn road. So get on the road. What are, if you had to tell someone, younger generation, I'm going to make up a number here, but you can give me whatever you want. 3 things that they should be doing, whether it's, let's see, a routine, a principle, a habit, things that you yourself learned over the last decade that you wish you knew in college that propelled you to where you are. It could be what we already talked about. What would those things be?
They would be, number 1 is learn how to ask for and receive, then act on feedback. Feedback is so important, but it's kind of the scariest thing that, people encounter. If you ask for feedback, you're kind of opening the doors for someone to come and shit on you, and no one wants to get shit on. And so but what happens then is you're getting such valuable information, because inside in my head, I think, oh, Aishah, you are this. But then when I ask, I'm like, Chris, what do you think of Aishah? And then when Chris comes and says, then I'm like, wait a minute, what? So it's just like, then it starts helping you understand kind of the gap between point A, whatever you have, and point B, wherever you want to be. It helps you understand that gap, and it gives you something to work on. It's the best and easiest tool that we have at our disposal to grow. But it's scary, and I get it, but just do it. And then number 2, don't censor yourself in here. Like when little Aishah in my head, actually she was big Aishah in my head, is dreaming, I have stopped censoring her. Before I used to, because I used to shut her down like, that's never going to happen. Why are you even thinking about it? Don't waste your time with that. For anyone else out there like me, don't censor that voice. Let that voice go and let that voice think big for you, because thoughts manifest too. And I do think that, because if you think it, you'll start believing it and you'll start doing it. And then number 3, this was like life-changing for me. Having some sacred time for myself. For me, it was in the form of an early morning. So I and I did the 21-day plan for myself, like 21 days, waking up 2 hours before Aliza and seeing, and it finally became a habit. And that was just like so surprising to me that I created this new habit. And even now I will wake up 1 or 2 hours before Aliza and just have my time. And that, that's how I did some of the book. That's how I started all of these new ventures and started planning and strategizing, because I use that time. And for me, it's in the morning. And it doesn't have to be an early morning routine. It can be any time you can just secure that time for yourself. But it's so important to be with yourself, to let yourself dream, to let yourself think, because all the good things come when you have that space.
I love it. You nailed. It's like, just to make it very clear, I gave no agenda of what we're talking about here. So you nailed those three very perfectly. It's as if I did ask you. I didn't ask you. Okay. Well, we're rounding out the hour. I feel like we could talk for a long, long time, but I guess the opportunity here is we'll do more podcasts. We'll talk more.
Let's do that.
Yes. Well, it would be extremely lucky of me if you decided to come on again. I would really love and enjoy that. You have a book out, still available. It's on Amazon. You have a podcast. It's on Podbean.
Actually, go to iTunes and find it. It's better for the algorithm. You know about that.
Okay, iTunes. I'm going to post the links where you can get them in the link to the description in this YouTube channel, so everyone can find them. And you, just based on our conversation, I'm already inspired. You're an inspiring person, so I
just want to give you a big virtual hug, and sometime soon I'll make because you're in New York, right? Like New York.
Yeah.
Area. Okay. Yeah. You're going to have to meet me up when I come out there, and I'm going to have to give you a big hug.
I'm waiting for it. Thank you so much for coming on. Enjoy your long weekend, and have a good rest of your day.
Thank you so much, my friend. You as well.
Thank you. Take it easy.